Hey, 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 yo, Mr. Hella Handsome, Mr. Eligible.
You,
If it's not the
you,
most,
bro. Should I tell the other?
if it's not the most handsome bachelor in the whole of Brighton, actually, you ain't even Brighton no more. But we ain't giving locations like that. But yeah. Thanks for tuning in again, guys. This week is going to be a special. We are going to be talking about what we're talking about, bro.
We're talking about mental health.
That's calm.
I think I'll just keep it nice and sweet,
Yeah,
short and sweet.
yeah, man. We're gonna talk about mental health because we all go through that shit. On today's episode, we're gonna have a couple of special individuals joining us, and yeah, let's see how
Mm-hmm.
how we all take a spin on the whole mental health thing. Hey, there we go, Mr. Cadus.
No, I
Yes.
didn't do a name right.
Hey, how you doing,
Ah,
brother?
Jesus.
I'm good.
Sorry
How
for
are
the
you, bro?
swearing.
You good?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, good.
Good. Jeez, wow, damn,
Beautiful
whoa,
black man, right?
wow, bruh. Jesus Christ. Woo.
I've never seen Abdul
Damn,
this
bruh.
lost for words. Jesus.
Wow.
What's happening here? What's happening?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. I feel like the least eligible bachelor in this shit, man. I ain't gonna lie. All of
Oh,
y'all
mate,
look
allow
hella,
it, man.
hella handsome. Bruh.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's charmers.
Jeez. All
I
right.
think Oluhle's waiting, but is she in?
Nah.
Are you in? Yeah.
Hi.
Good evening.
Oh, you are in. Oh my God. Yes.
We
We have
made it.
female energy in this chat so that, to balance.
The
Def-
ratios are a bit scary, guys.
what's this?
So the ratios.
The ratio.
Oh, don't worry.
Don't
Don't
worry.
worry.
I've got both feminine and masculine side, so I can, so
Yeah, me
the
too.
Sure,
Me
same
too.
here.
Okay.
Same here.
Uh-huh.
What I like to hear. Yes, I like it. I like
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Just as
Don't worry.
important as the other.
There we go.
uh,
So, how is everyone today?
Just yeah, just the same day. It's just
Same
the same
shit,
day.
different toilet. Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
It's
that's.
hotter than a motherfucker though.
I
Literally.
know, and people are living their best lives out there. Just watch the second wave come in and just wipe out.
Have you
Sorry, that's
guys
a bit
seen the
dark.
post about Southend Beach?
Yeah.
This?
I live about 5 minutes away from there, and I was just looking at the window like I could just risk it all for a sunbathe.
But I think it's a
I can
British thing though. Like,
Pardon?
I feel like they see. No, I don't want to say they see that because that sounds really bad. I'll say we see since we've moved and what have you. But like, yeah, British way is like just see a little bit of sun and it's just let's go out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, I don't know. It's frustrating. I don't want to be that person, but like a few of my friends are like, oh yeah, like a few football teams are having training sessions and blah blah blah. So yeah, we should go and play six-a-side, and they went and played football in a park, and I was just like, I don't want to be that friend that just ruins everything, but I was
But you
just
can
like,
go out in a
oh
mask.
man, huh? In a mosque, yeah, I can, but for them they were just like, I think it's just back to normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna be that guy. So I
Okay.
just like I'll let them have their fun.
But I think as well on the flip side is you've had
Mhm.
the luxury of understanding how to be comfortable by yourself. So I think there's a lot of people who aren't comfortable with
Yeah.
that. And I think it's just the way that the way that society is set up in the UK, it's like the government can't really enforce too much of a law because it will just be like an elastic band and it will break. So
Yeah.
I
I'm
feel you.
surprised there hasn't been any riots though. Like I'll applaud them on one thing, which is like the crisis and people management of the whole entire thing, because I refuse to believe that they didn't know that we were going to be here for this long. So it's like introducing it in stages rather than saying, "Oh, guys, sorry, we're going to be here until June." Like I feel like it would have been anarchy.
yeah, of course.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I have nothing good to say about the Tories, so I'll shut the fuck up. I won't say anything. I'll just keep myself. my mouth shut. But I get what I mean. Like, yeah, that under the circumstances, they have managed. But yeah, we shall see. I'm hoping that, I don't know, our future something like Canada, New Zealand. They've dealt with it now, basically, and they're starting to have normal lives. Even I think South Korea, because South Korea really like proper attacked the problem. And in a way, I feel like the fact that here they don't, I know it's good, obviously they don't enforce it too much because maybe we're too free, but I still feel like
freedom.
I feel like other countries enforced it more. That's all I'll say. Because here it's too ambiguous. It's too like, oh, you can do this, but you don't have to. So obviously people come like, oh, we don't have to.
Go outside. You don't know.
You can go outside. You can go outside. We don't want you to go outside, but you can if you want.
It's like when when you ask your mom to go out and she's like, you can go if you want to. And it's like,
that like,
It was a straight no. My mum would just laugh sometimes. It'd be like, oh, really? No.
My mom tried to play mind games, man.
No. People like, oh, you sure you want to go out? Yeah, you sure?
I wanted to, and I do. So, you know.
No, and you'll see. Okay, all right. No, I think African parents are like that in general.
Firstly,
you want to just go on.
I want to thank you both for joining us. Like, it means a lot to get people on board, and especially people willing to share their experience as well. Especially something so sensitive, because everyone's protective about the topic mental health, and especially in our being black, it's such a it's a really hush topic. So thank you very much for coming on board. I think Tabo and I were discussing earlier, like the best way to go forward is for you guys to introduce yourselves and say what you understand by mental health or what your experience of mental health is. Kind of like gives us all an idea of where everyone's at when it comes to mental health.
Okay.
So whoever is ready, take the honors.
Ladies first.
Yeah, I knew that was going to come out.
Gentlemen.
Is that not even bad? Like, when it's like, because I feel it's good manners, but at the same time, you also don't want to be like
convenient.
Exactly. Whatever, bro.
I can start first. I can actually start first, though.
I know it's fine. I'll go.
Cool.
So obviously my name is Sugu, as you guys can see on the screen. Am I meant to say something about myself as well? Or?
What's the origin story of the incredible Sugu?
Oh God, don't say that. I'm just hearing it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get really kind of when people ask me things like that. But in terms of my contact with mental health, I feel like it's something that's not been here all my life kind of thing, but I've got two brothers that are autistic. My dad is a mental health nurse. Like a lot of my family work with, people that have mental illnesses and stuff like that. I feel like I have probably gone through some sort of like parts of depression. So that's also like, mental health related. So it's something obviously that I will forever be an advocate for, a conversation I'm always willing to have, as you said as well, especially with our communities. It's not something that everyone wants to scream and shout about. So yeah, I'm always happy to have conversations, always happy to expand my mind and expand other people's minds as well. So I guess that's about it really, kind of brief.
That's dope.
Thank you very much.
Jesus, that was deep. I felt that. What about yourself, Kadus?
So Kadus, 30 years of age, and again, I've been surrounded by the topic since I was young, not as directly as you. Is it Sugu? How do I pronounce your name? Sorry.
It's Sugu.
Sugu.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I just wanted to So I just think for me, it's just been down to personal experiences with family members. My great uncle, I believe he would be, my granny's brother. So yeah, he had Down syndrome.
What you said.
So yeah, he had Down syndrome. So he's probably one of the greatest men that I knew growing up, and it just kind of made me a lot more aware of where my brain was at. And just through different experiences that I've had to then come direct with, you know, with mental illness, as they say. I suffer from anxiety. And that's something that I've only really been able to start to fully understand about a year ago. So, you know, there was 29 years of just trying to figure all of that stuff out. And luckily for me, I'm a dancer. So I've had avenues which I could express.
You've got outlet.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, I'm an advocate for mental health. I do think it's very important. I think that it shouldn't be something that is separate from your normal, like health lifestyle, whatever that means. Like, I think that mental health is health in general, because I think everyone suffers from it in some degree, especially if you're living in society. If you've got a phone, you know, chances are you would have had some sort of encounter with it. You know, so I think that it's good that we can have these platforms where people of our skin tone can actually talk about it candidly, you know, because, you know, it is something that is quite taboo, especially within a lot of the older households. And I think it's that now we can actually start to really have detailed conversations about it, honestly and authentically, where, you know, we can feel that we're supported. So kudos to you guys for even having this. This is really dope.
Thank you. That was deep.
I appreciate it.
That was very deep.
That was very deep. Jeez, how Abdul, how do we even follow that up, bro? Like, I'm kind of intimidated right now, bro. Like,
Bro,
what do I talk about? I knew a guy who suffered once. Nah. Okay. So, like, with me, mental health, it's something I've had, like, it doesn't come it's not often like have to battle with it kind of thing, like depression and that anxiety, that kind of thing. But it's come at moments in my life that like where something major is happening. So it will generally be like a heartbreak, or like maybe in school I get a grade I didn't want, like, and I break down, blah blah blah. And what's always helped me is and my mum says it as well, so I'm very expressive. So like I tend to talk a lot kind of thing. Abdul will attest to this. Like we have like 5-hour conversations sometimes, and it's sort of why this podcast was born, because we talk about so much stuff that why not record it. But yeah, so my experience has just been like tough times, and you know, so like keep it to yourself or just express. And the times I have kept it to myself, like when I'm going through something, it's just ended badly. So yeah, my experience is just, I can only speak from my own experience really. It's up and down, and you learn with time how to deal with it. But I think expression is a very good way to do it. But that's all I'll say about that.
You can release emotions and feelings. You can't keep them in.
There we go. Yeah, and I was checking your page, by the way, so the Oluhle, right? And I was like, oh, this guy, yeah, it's got like motivational and positive posts, and like, so I'm a believer in like stoicism and stuff, and just the whole like you can't stop bad things from happening to you, but you can sort of like
you can kind of control
you can control how you react to it, kind of thing, you know, and how like your attitude to everything and that kind of thing. But yeah, that's me.
I'm sort of opposite to what everyone's kind of said. I'm more old school with it, and that is, I wouldn't say that's by choice. That's how I've been brought up. It's not until recently where I traveled up to Scotland, trying to, you know, build or rebuild my life. Then I sort of discovered that I was going through some form of depression. And even till now, I want to say it's not something I own. It's not something I admit to myself. Not sure why. I know part of it is because growing up, you know, mental health is seen as an excuse, especially in our community. You know, it's seen as a weakness. It's seen as an excuse. It's seen as just a way out of something. And I feel like, you know, I've tried to distance myself away from that. But, you know, there've been so many signs, you know, there's been points where I'll be having a good day, or I'll be having like a good hour, and someone asks me, what's wrong with you? And I'll be like, what do you mean, what's wrong with me? They're like, but you're happy, like, you're not usually like this. I'm like, oh shit, like, all right, that's all right, that's, you know, that's something new. And, you know, such patterns kept repeating themselves. So, you know, time after time, like, you know, I start to realize that, you know what, I am going through something. But unlike, you know, some of you stated, you know, how you express it and, you know, sort of the challenge you take towards it, I haven't really found a channel which I can say, okay, you know what, this is how I deal with what I'm going through. So it would be nice to hear, you know, how everyone deals with uh, the experience um, of mental health, or how, you know, you guys manage it.
Mm. Yeah, can I just say quickly as well, like you mentioned, obviously you haven't figured out why.
Yeah.
I think that just comes with time though, right? Because if you've just recently discovered what that is, or you're starting to understand it, my cat's looking at me. But if you're starting to understand it, then obviously you're then having to then go back through years and years of conditioning, and that's not gonna happen straight away. That's just gonna be a big process. But I think you're in the hardest part, which is the realization. But it's also the place where you have the most strength right now. So like, just kudos for even kind of getting to that stage, because for someone who's been conditioned to think a certain way, who's then had the ability to kind of step out of themselves and analyze it, just shows that you've got a high level of self-awareness. So that's dope. But it's just going to take time. I just think it's about being kind to yourself and just kind of allowing yourself just to go through those emotions and being cool with it, you know.
And I feel like having these conversations as well with people that look like us is a massive help. I mean, I think I suffered from depression when I was like a quite a young age. Like you, I didn't know what it was. I just know I had feelings of like, just feelings I didn't feel were normal, or just, yeah, I didn't feel like I was normal. And if I could speak to anyone, I remember like there was a time my brother was like, I didn't even know what your voice sounded like for a long time, because that's how long I was just like inward. So it's like when I started, then my biggest outlet will always be like writing and just kind of sharing stories and stuff, like creative writing poetry. Journaling is a huge part of it. Just because, especially for someone like you, as you said, like you, it's something that you're experiencing and you're just now acknowledging it. You don't want to go out there and speak to a stranger and say, you know, this is what I'm feeling, but you can kind of, as he said, you know, be kind to yourself and speak to yourself and just kind of lay out your feelings. Because if it's not in your head, if it's on paper, then that's that little bit better than carrying all of this kind of weight on your shoulders. But yeah, I would say one of the biggest things for kind of going and dealing with that, for me, with everybody else, I think as well, would probably be writing, or just find something that you love as well and just mellow out and tune things out.
I agree. That's dope. Do you journal every day?
Not every day. I don't know. It kind of comes in bouts, because I feel like we all have like roller coasters, and just kind of like recently, due to Corona, a lot of things I've been going through, like family stuff. I feel like I've really been needing to kind of go back to basics and just kind of journal, write poetry. I've been going out for walks and just kind of being in nature and writing, and that really helps. But I think it's like life updates kind of thing. So every couple of months in my usual life is what I would do. But now I'm literally alone with my thoughts every single day. So you need to put them down as well. And I think, again, that's probably another key, due to like the pandemic that we're in now. Like everyone has the time to just literally be like, if you don't like something about yourself in the mirror, you're going to look at that thing every single day, or you're going to see it every single day or morning or afternoon, and you're alone with those thoughts. So it's like, how do you then deal with them and process them? I think a lot of people don't know how to do that, because obviously we're always on the go, we're always doing something, so you can kind of push things away. So I think, even though it's like it's a gift and a curse, this moment in time, is it's, you know, we want to be outside, we want to be with our friends, but it's a good time to be with yourself and just figure it out.
Do you reflect in your journals, though? Do you ever sort of go back and just reflect on your previous entries?
What do you mean? Oh, like look back? I do look back on them. I feel like it's a good way to track my goals and just track where I was and where I am now. I journal about everything. It's not like Dear Diary, but it's like literally, oh, I got a good job today. This is how I feel. Why do I feel this way? And with that as well, I literally a couple of weeks ago, I've got a blog, and I wrote something about sort of self-introspection, and it's literally just, I meditate a lot, which is another thing that helps me. But it's literally about sort of, you've realized an issue, and then it's like, okay, now how do we then take the steps back, as kind of Kadus said, take the steps back to kind of see then how did you learn them, why did you learn them, and how can you then change them and then go forward. So that would be what I would be doing if I was looking back at my journals and thinking, okay, I'm seeing repeated steps or repeated things I'm doing all the time. Why am I doing it? Let's go back, let's have a look.
That's dope.
That's all dope.
Yeah, I just think, for me, I mean, last year I was able to kind of figure out a good way to deal the happy medium. Prior to that was just years of self-reflection and criticizing myself to the point where it was just very destructive. And, you know, in hindsight now, when I look back in it, it would stem with my relationship with my mum growing up. It would stem from just the people that I had around me. And I, you know, it's the way that I was able to kind of deal with it, or to start to figure out how to deal with it, was just to understand exactly what it was. And then once I've understood it, just learn to just forgive myself. Just forgive myself for everything that I've done up until that point. The places that I were, you know, the people that I may have isolated, the people that just forgive myself for everything, because at the end of the day, one thing that I realized is, like, everyone is just trying to sort their shit out one way or the other. Whether they're running, yeah. But
yeah.
So you saying? Sorry?
I just said we're all just trying to make it.
Exactly. And the moment that I was able to kind of really look at it from that standpoint, I was then able to not only develop empathy, but just to not be so hard on myself. So when there are days where I do feel like crap, or when there are days when I'm feeling super anxious, just to honor that feeling first and foremost. But then
a big key. I feel like everybody kind of looks at, you know, oh, you have to be positive all the time, positive vibes, good vibes. But it's just like good vibe. Like, once, if you have good, you must also have the bad. You have to balance that, and you have to own that and say, okay, I feel bad today, I feel shit today, but I'm gonna do this to lift myself and make myself feel better. I feel like the minute you start saying, oh, you know, like repressing things of, oh, I never feel sad, or I never feel anger, that's when the sort of problem begins, or you start repressing certain things, and that's always going to come out in another way that you may never expect. So yeah, I think it's self-awareness is a huge part of dealing with these kinds of things.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think taking that and just understanding the situation, and understanding that, you know, like my motto is, if I can still be happy when times aren't really that good, but like authentically happy, not just trying to distract myself, but just understanding that this situation's happening, I have no control of it. The stuff that I can control, I'm actively working on. I know that. So whatever happens. And you mentioned about meditating, which is what I've started to. It's something I've always really worked towards, because as a dancer, when I listen to music, that's meditation to me, or when I sit down and I write poetry, that's meditation to me, or when I just have moments where I'm choreographing, that's meditation to me. Yeah. But I guess the past 2 years, when I've really kind of looked into and actually tried studying it, it was the main thing that I took out from that is, it's like, you can't stop the thoughts that goes into your head. Like, the way that I see it is, when thoughts go into your head, they're not meant to be there full time. They're just meant to kind of. But the problem is, if you know, and I could speak from someone who's got anxiety, what will happen is, when that thought comes into your head, if there's a insecurity or there's something there, you tend to just latch onto that thought, and then you're struggling, and while you're struggling, it's causing so much damage in your head. That's just how I see it. So, like, one thing I'm trying to do is just to be as present as possible.
Yeah, and I feel like meditation can kind of help that, because it's just 10 minutes of silence, or just me focusing on, like, I don't know, wiggling my toes or something just minuscule that doesn't affect, like, okay, I might be losing my job tomorrow, I might be losing my house tomorrow. It's just literally that mental break. And it's so weird to say that you feel like you just took a mental bath, like a mental shower. You know that feeling when you come out the shower, like, yeah, I feel clean today. I feel good. It's like that kind of feeling. It's like for those 10 minutes, I was literally just me by myself and my room, or, you know, the flowers, the trees, or whatever it is. It's just, and I think that's very important because I'm like, you know, our minds are always going. Like, I see an image, I register it. I may not, like, it may not be at the forefront of my mind, but I've seen it. My mind is working like 24/7. So it's like it doesn't get a break, and all those things affect you in a certain way. So meditation, big key.
To do meditation, you said about sort of switching off and just emptying your mind or wiggling your toes. That's something I know I struggle with. I can never seem to stop thinking. There's always, it's either relevant or irrelevant. There's always a thought. So you saying you have the ability to just turn off, to just switch off completely.
I think for me, and yeah, I think everyone's got thoughts that goes on. I think that's everyone, every single person you see. There's, I think the key to it is understanding that you have to kind of relinquish your control. I think at the moment, so we just have to, if something happens, like, you're in a relationship, or it has to go how I want it to go in my head, or you meet your whatever position, there's always that preconceived idea, like, it needs to work. Hello, mate. I know, one minute, I see my cat here. There's I think there's like we just have this preconceived idea in our heads that we want things to, like, we don't have any control of it, and I think that just kind of ruins like anyone's kind of capabilities of actually being present in that moment. You miss out on such a good moment in your life because you have these preconceived ideas. Exactly.
Predict situations or predict outcomes. Like, I'm a huge overthinker. Like I'm a huge overthinker. Like someone will say something to me, I'll reply to it, and then afterwards I'm like, oh, I could have said this. Actually, what if I said that? And it's just like, your mind, as you said, your mind is always going, and it ruins things if you're always trying to be that person that's gelling with everybody, to be that person that's saying this, saying that, blah blah blah. So it's like with meditation, it's a good pause, but also you don't have to be sitting cross-legged or half lotus and sounding and saying like it can be just, as you said, dancing for him is meditation, writing is meditation. So it's like the things that, I don't want to sound like cliche, but when people like take you back to your inner child, like things that give you genuine and pure joy, like that is a form of meditation. So it doesn't have to be your classic, like, but just a way for you to just silence your mind and silence all those outside thoughts and just literally just be with Ishola. What does Ishola want to do? What are you thinking today? And like, it's just that, like, it doesn't have to be your classic.
Yeah,
I feel you. I'm gonna go back to the journaling thing because I think that's very good. Because I find I write poetry, and to me that started off as my therapy, because I have toyed with the idea of getting an actual therapist and paying for them and all that stuff, but I was like, I'm really thrifty, so no, I'm not gonna do that. So I found that writing used to actually, like, it was a good way to express your feelings, and then one day maybe in the future you look back and you're like, I once felt like that. And sometimes it's like it makes you realize how far you've come, and that's the biggest thing for me, which I love about writing as a way of therapy, because you just look and you're like, oh my god, I was like, at that point I was that depressed, or I was this or this, I went through this and I thought I'd never make it, but look at me now, kind of thing. Another way which is really good, I got this in a book, and it was like, this one is just generally like day to day, and it was like, if you're doing, maybe you find your life quite repetitive and maybe it's getting like almost depressing, kind of repetitive, you're doing maybe a job you don't love, find an activity outside of that you actually enjoy, because having that thing to look forward to on the side sometimes can, like, it can be good for your mental well-being.
Definitely.
You don't feel like you're trapped in this one thing you hate, because you have this other thing. I don't know, for example, for Kadus it might be his dance classes, he has that thing to look forward to. For you might be like your writing or your meditation, and for Ish it might be like football, it might be like because he writes raps as well. So it might be that as well. It's just having something outside of your normal routine. I think is a good way as well to
Definitely.
keep yourself sane, I would say.
You know, I get that. I think
Yeah.
I think like it's weird because you saying that as well. It's true. I do have. I'm very lucky. And I think anyone who has even the ability to talk, like even if you've got a friend that you can actually just talk shit to for hours, like that.
Yeah.
That is something that, you know. My brain's a bit messed up though, because I've always tried to kind of see how I can be like happy in the most uncomfortable positions, and I've been in very, very, very uncomfortable positions. I can tell you stories, fun stories, and I think for me it's just become very clear to me is like that's always going to be a part of it. Like that's all that low point is always going to be there. So it's like when I'm there, it's like, okay, cool, I'm there, it's happening, but then how can I then try to be as present as I can be? And I think that's what like meditation is for me, and dance is for me. So I don't necessarily have something that I look forward to distract myself from the day that I'm having. I always try and figure out how I can try and be as comfortable, because I don't like it scares me just kind of having to say, oh well, this is happening, this is crap, but in 3 days time I'm gonna have a good time, and then after that day's done I'm gonna go back, and it's like, and granted that's life, right? Because a lot of us in jobs that we hate, but you know, how can we then operate during that day? Like very much.
But see, yeah, I get that. I'm not a stranger to literally. I've been in uncomfortable situations where I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna punch this person in the face right now. Like, I'm not a stranger. The first time I ever meditated was, I was literally more or less being about to black out. I don't know who I was gonna fuck up and how I was gonna fuck them up. But I was like, you know what? Like, I don't like the fact that this external situation is getting me to a place where, number one, I'm uncomfortable, I'm not myself, and I'm not the person that I usually am. So it's like, that's the first time I literally was like, you know what? Let's try something different. Let's go sit down. Let's get a guided meditation thing on, and let's just get our shit together. And that's what literally happened. So I get that, having something to look forward to, but at the same time, like, it doesn't have to be 3 days time or whatever. It could be something that you can just do literally right now, count to 10 if you have to, or whatever it is, but you can literally do it in the moment as well. So you don't have to confine yourself.
That's it. Tabo, can I also just say, before I forget, so I'm so happy that you started poetry, by the way. I still remember when you first, yeah, honestly, man, like, yeah. But anyway, so.
Thank
How did you get the
you.
courage to like start posting and just putting your art out there?
So Abdul, no, I'll call him Ish. I'll call him Ish because that's what he's known as here. But Ish sort of knows the whole origin story of like getting my heart broken, and then I start writing. And he was there when I was like listening to, you know, heartbreak music, like crying, screaming, you know, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Anyway, so I start writing, and gradually I just, because when I was in school, the one thing that got me focused on school was analyzing poetry. So I think it's something that stuck. I went from being like a class clown who did not care about school to like to realizing I was good at something, and then from there I got, you know, I took school seriously. So I think poetry always had a place in my heart. And then over the years, obviously things happen, heartbreak, experience racism, write about it. And then I think I used to just like just share with a few people, because I started a WordPress blog thing, and I just share with people. And then like a family friend happens to be a journalist as well. And I used to be like, you know what, let me just show him as well, because if there's one person who's going to tell me if it's crap, it's him. You know? So like I just shared with him, and he was like, oh, it's all right. Like, but one thing I'll give you advice on is, you know, read 10 times more than you write. I take his advice. I ask like an English major friend as well what he thinks of it. And then gradually I start improving just what I write. And then gradually I get courage to post it on social media, and people seem to take to it. And then eventually it becomes a book. It does okay. And then from then on, I've just been like, you know what? Like, what do I have to lose? So that's how I finally got the courage after so long sort of hesitating and not doing it, because I thought, oh, what if people think I'm just, begging for attention? But get to a point where you're like, I don't care anymore. It's my self-expression, and it resonates with some people, and some people really, I don't know, it does something for them. So that's how I got the courage. Anyway, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it does. Because like I've written poetry, I do write poetry, and like my thing is I have a lot of unfinished poems. I don't think I'm great or whatever, but obviously it's like an outlet, something that I would like to share at some point. But it's like I can't take the thought of judgment or the thought of like it might be shit or just literally I don't know, like I don't know what to expect. So no, I really appreciate that. That's pretty cool.
For me, anything from the heart can't really be shit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's
if you're really being true, you're really being honest.
Kadus,
sorry, what were you saying?
I was just I'm just kind of taking in what you guys are saying. I think it's the hardest part about being an artist, because when you're I think anyone who creates is an artist to me. So that's just so we can understand that context. But for you to take something that is stored internally and then for you to try and translate that however you can, and then not even just do that, but then to show the world, it's a very vulnerable place to be.
Yeah.
And I feel
scary as fuck.
I don't know if you guys have verses with Jill Scott and Erykah Badu.
Yeah.
And I think Jill Scott must have said something like, if you have a talent or you have something, like something that you create, like sometimes it becomes an obligation for you to actually share it with people, because it can't just stay within either your heart, the notepads that you've written it in, like you've written it now, so why not just, it's an obligation for other people, you don't know who it touches. And it's like that kind of resonated with me, but at the same time it's like that huge fear of like, but people are mean on the internet. I don't want to be that person, But no, I really appreciate that. It might give me courage to post something, who knows? But
yeah. I mean, like Jill Scott, I think I must have lit about 2 incense sticks in the space of 5 minutes. I was anyone who knows me would know, like Erykah Badu is just anyway. Jill Scott said, they're not yours, when she's on about writing, and that to me was just that to me really,
like, oh my god,
because it's not yours. It's like it's not like last year I did a series on mental health, and it was during that time where people were starting to really talk about it. But I've always been a proponent of it since I was knee high. And that was a very vulnerable experience, because, I share a lot of my art, but you don't necessarily know exactly where that's coming from unless you're close to me. So, so I was able to do that with less than a minute. I've just seen here. But anyway, yeah, it's just to get it out there and to put it out there. It's like, oh my goodness, it's nerve-wracking, but there were people that resonated with it. I had people messaging me and saying thank you, and it was just, that's when you realize, like you said, get it out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
what she said, though, it doesn't belong to you. I was like, okay, that gives me a little bit of pressure, but I like that. Like, it's no longer yours. You've released it. You've created it. So why keep it?
Yeah. Gotta thank you guys. This has been amazing. It's a shame that we are, cheap as fuck, and we haven't upgraded our Zoom, so we can't do the post 40 minutes in. But if you guys would love to join us again, we'll be more than happy to do this again. Thank you ever so much, both of you. Thank you ever so much, Kadus. Thank you ever so much,
Suku.
Really appreciate it, man. And Mr. Neoni, stay handsome, stay damn boy.
You too, brother.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.